Hello and welcome to Moment of Truth. My name is Nade Ashon and my co-host, David Jigbody.
I'm David Jigodi. Welcome to the show.
Wonderful. And my other co-host, Dr. Prissy.
Hi, I'm Prissy Kumston. Thank you for joining us tonight.
Wonderful. So tonight, last week we talked about budget, but I guess in a way we also want to talk about the fact that April is financial literacy. And we talked about the budget last week because it's one of those things that most people, the dreaded word, budget. But we also want to talk about the fact that the reason why people do budgeting, we do a budget for a purpose. We are saving money because we want to do a major purchase. And so today we're going to talk about two major purchases that is part of the American dream: buying a home and also buying your brand new car. And all three of us have gone through the process. So we just really want to touch some of the key highlights, or want to highlight some of the key areas that most people don't even think about when it comes to doing those major purchases. So I will start with David Jibodi. I think David Jibodi is the newest one to buy a house. I've bought my house like more than 10 years ago. Dr. Prissy, how long ago did you guys buy your house?
I think I might be the newest at 5 years.
5 years.
No, I will be the newest.
Yes.
About 3 years. Oh, this is the fourth year. This is our fourth year, yeah.
Yes. So I will start with David Jibodi because each time things change. So when we talk about I think the first thing we want to talk about is, why do people even want to buy a house? What prompts you to think about buying a home? Because that also gives you the idea of why do we do what we do. Even though I say it's the American dream, it's not everybody's dream. So David Jibodi, tell us a little bit, what promotes you to get your dream house?
Well, so good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
Yeah, I think a lot of things, a lot of factors. Maybe just a little background. I'm used to growing up in a parent's home, right? Knowing this is our home. So that at the back of my mind, when I came into the country, I went to school first. So I did not have a job right away. So I rented a room with a family. And it was fun. It was really fun. I got to have a new family right here. But I knew that when I am ready, I need to go back and get my own place, because back in Ghana, I had my own place. I mean, I was living with my parents once I was done with college. So fast forward 4 years ago, I decided, hey, this is the time. So that's just the motivation, knowing that I need my own space. I mean, I can be in just a room for the rest of my life. And I also knew that I will start a family, but just being used to having my own place was the motivation. It's time to have my own place. Yes.
Thank you so much, David. How about you, Dr. Prissy? What was your motivating factor to get the home for the family?
Yeah, definitely family. For me, my experience was a little bit frustrating. I talked a little bit about it, I think, last week, because when I started having kids and we were ready to get a house, I really couldn't get the house then because of this huge medical bill that I had sitting on my credit from the birth of my first daughter. A $10,000 bill that the insurance company will just not pay. And I didn't feel like I was responsible for this bill. I mean, this is why I pay insurance. Why should I pay insurance and then now have to pay for a medical bill? And the reason they gave me was that the doctors that took care of my child at the hospital were out of network hospital. Well, hello, I don't have anything to do with that. So I didn't feel like I had to pay it. So I decided I had to pay it. And of course, it went on my credit and it took 7 good years. I had to painfully wait 7 good years.
7 long years.
I'm
Not good, because they were not good if you were waiting. Those would be bad. So let's make it long.
Long years, 7 years.
So that really I was really surprised about the impact, because I had heard, or people will say that, oh, medical bills don't have such a huge impact as credit cards do, But obviously it does. So I just had to wait it out. I had to wait it out. But the good thing about that was during those years, I was able to save the money, right? Because I kind of like had the goal.
Mhm.
And as soon as, I called the credit bureau after the 7 years and they got it off, I was able to get the house. So it was definitely family. And, when your family is increasing, the apartments, become a challenge. You just don't have enough space. Space is just huge for when you have a family. And that was definitely the motivating factor.
Okay. Thank you
How
guys
about
so
you,
much.
John?
For
What was
me,
your experience?
yes, for me in particular, I I was at a very peculiar place. I have to be honest with you. I just moved. I just joined the military. The military sent me to Colorado, and then I was living in Colorado for a while. It is cold in Colorado, and then I was coming back to the Washington area, and I had the choice because the army relocates you, so they could give you, housing allowance to go stay in apartments. And I was like, wait a minute, why will I pay money for an apartment if I could use it on a house? So when I came to the Washington area, my first choice was definitely get my own place because I know Washington was home. So I was like, if I get a place here, and even the army move me again, I will still have this place and I may have to, rent it out or something like that. So it was just a great opportunity that present itself, and I didn't want to miss that opportunity. Even though people were like, "You crazy? You're not married. Why do you want the responsibility of the house?" I was like, I had the opportunity and I didn't want to waste it. So it has been a good experience. I love it. I've been living in the same neighborhood. When I moved into the neighborhood, when I went to the homeowners association meeting, they're like, "Where's your parent?" I'm like, I'm the homeowner. They're like, "What?" You know, I was that young. So it has been a very good experience. I know my neighbors and everybody know me, and I wouldn't change it for the world. So that has been my experience.
Wow.
Awesome.
So yes, thank you guys so much. Now let's talk about getting there, because now we talk about our motivation. Why do we motivate ourselves to get it? Now let's talk about the resources, the first steps. What does it take? Because after the motivation, you have to sit down and look at the costs. For me in particular, it's important for me to make sure that I can afford to pay for my mortgage. I think it's definitely important when you think about your mortgage, think about the cost of the place that you're going to live. Some mortgage will tell you interest only. So you're just paying the interest and you're not paying the principal. I will highly discourage you from doing that. So you want to have a house that you can afford. So let's talk about it. What was some of the things that draw you guys to the neighborhood that you are in? Was the price, the location? What was it? Sometimes the community that we choose plays a huge factor in us. And I'll start with Dr. Kumsi. Since you have kids, was the kids some of the motivating factor in choosing your neighborhood and your house that you have?
Yes, definitely. My kids were definitely the number one motivating factor. I wanted a school in a county that was really good because I knew the kids were going to be in public schools, and it was very important that they were in good public schools, and so that's why we chose our county. And the schools here are great because we used to live in PG County and we moved to Howard County, and the schools here are excellent. The other motivating factor was actually it's so funny because as much as I loved this area, I didn't think I could afford a house here. And so I kind of like put it on the bottom of the list, even though it was like the best place that I would want to live, but I thought I couldn't afford it. So I put it at the bottom of the list, just in case we found something in our price range. And then I hadn't heard from one of my girlfriends in a good while. And she called me and she told me, "Oh, we've moved to so and so." And I was like, "Wow, really?" And I'm like, "Wait a minute, you could afford a house there? Because if you can afford it, that means I can afford it." I mean, she laughed so hard. And she was like, "Yeah." And she was like, "Listen, you'll be very surprised that this neighborhood is actually a neighborhood that anybody can find a price range in." I was like, "Really?" So that moved it to the top. like, and then we started really looking, and I really found out that there were houses here that were in my price range, and it was really, really amazing because it was just a perfect place to find that I could actually afford a house here. Was super. It was like the bonus, like so. The kids are able, and I always like to choose. So the thing with me about location is, even when I used to live in an apartment, I always like to live very close to stuff. You know, I like being in the city. I like being in the place of action. So when I used to have my apartment, I had everything there. The train station was there, the shops were there, everything was there. And then when we moved from that place to our next place, it was like right there in the center of everything with all the store, everything was right in the center. And I needed that. That had to happen for me. And so it took me a while to find that best location that had everything around me, which is just 5 minutes away. And this was even the best because now we found a place which like was really like just a spit away from the hospital, right across my house, and the community college is right there, and all the stores and the mall is right down the street, and it just was perfect. And so it just really checked all the boxes, and price, neighborhood, everything was just amazing.
Thank you, Dr. Prissy.
Mm.
How about you, David Buddy? What was some of the stuff that was on your to-do list when you were choosing your neighborhood? Gotta have the
Right.
stuff.
So I had in mind the steps. The steps were so long. So let me just talk about what attracted me to this particular neighborhood.
Uh-huh.
So, but that is embedded in the steps somehow. But I'll see how I
Okay.
can put it in without putting it in. You see that? So, so I would advise those who are thinking of having a home not to settle. Whatever it is that you want, you will find it if you take the time to look for it. Because I'll come to those circumstances of steps later, but it took me 5 to 6 years to finally find a place I want for various reasons. But over here, the reason why I chose it was firstly because of the neighborhood. Secondly, it's even interesting that the person who helped me, the agent who helped me find this place, we were able to find a couple of houses that I really liked within one weekend. Like we found like 6 or 7 places that I really liked. And we're only able to find those places because I fired my first agent who had been working with me for like 4 years and not really taking me anywhere, finding anything that I really wanted. And got this one, and within 1 week, we found everything. Because on the list, I wanted a place that was close enough to my workplace. And I gave the number of miles because I don't want to travel 2 hours to get to work. So I told how many miles away I would like it to be, what kind of neighborhood. For example, although we have, how do you call this, apartments close by, it's a very, very calm and quiet neighborhood. And I wanted it not too far from apartments because I knew I wanted to start my own daycare at some point in time. So a place where you will get traffic of children coming in quite easily if you started something like that. And then I needed to have some backyard to put in a playground when that happens.
Right.
And then it should be close enough to a shopping center where, like, if you're going to buy things, you don't have to travel another hour to go grocery shopping, something like that. And this place had it, this place and a few other places. Then I settled on this particular house because somebody was living here. And when I came to tour the place, it looked like it was really well kept. Like everything was working well. Some of the places we found, things look well, but it has not been inhabited for maybe 6 months, a year or something. So really, you can't really tell. And I don't want to go paying for inspection in all sort of places. So I looked here first, let's do inspection for this place and let's see what happens. And everything was working perfectly, just like we said. Of course, I didn't expect somebody to be living here with nothing working. So then they wanted to sell this place so they get a different place. She was a bit older and she wanted to move to a second home. This was her first home. And for an old lady, she's kept this place really, really well. So, I mean, just from me, when I saw that I was an elderly person, I was wondering, what would be working in that house and what would not be working? But everything was good. So all those things on my list, I got it here.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Avi. And I think it's important. For me, when I was looking for my place, I didn't want to be in the city. You guys want to be in the city. I didn't want to be in the city. I was working in DC and I did not want to be in the city. I wanted to be somewhere quiet, a neighborhood with trees and playground. Even though I didn't have any kids at that time, I just wanted to be somewhere very quiet. So that way at the end of the day, I didn't have to hear any ambulance. None of those things. I just want peace and quiet. So when I choose my neighborhood, even though it was in PG County, it was in a quiet part of the PG County, and I love it. I wanted like full baths, and even though I was a single person at that time, I wanted 3 bedrooms, 3 levels. I wanted full bath, 2 half bath. I wanted a big kitchen. I want to live. I want this. I want a master bedroom with a suite. Like, I want my place to be me, a nice size closet. I think the only thing I didn't get that I wanted was a walk-in closet, but that's all right.
It's okay.
Too. It's okay. But I really wanted the neighborhood to be quiet and peaceful. So I came to the neighborhood a couple of times. I saw, I went to a different place to see different places, but I went to my neighborhood at night to see at nighttime, what does the neighborhood look like? Does it have a lot of people? Is it congested? What does nightlife is one of those places that how you know if your neighborhood is safe. Mm-hmm. So I went there during the night. I went there during the weekends, during the weekdays, just to see before I finally made the purchase on that place. And you said one thing that's also important. You need to find a realtor. A good realtor is the key to having, making sure that you meet the criteria, because you cannot see all the houses, or even if people are selling their houses, you personally cannot go to them unless you're a realtor. So having a good realtor who knows, what is going on will really prevent you from getting into a lot of trouble. So I think that is important. So we talk about the criteria. Now let's talk about some of the steps that we took in terms of money, because you can't go there without having that steps, because the realtor we talk about, that is, for me, the realtor is the number one, but the steps in getting the realtor and sitting down with the realtor and talking about those things is important. So David, but talk about the steps. What are some of the steps that you took?
Yeah, my steps are unique. They did not start with the realtor, actually. So first I was doing my master's, and then I decided in my second year, I'm going to finish master's in a year, so let me start looking for a place. So then I went online and I found First Time Home Buyers Association close by, and I went there, and then they put me in the program. You come, I think it was a whole month, but every Saturday you're there to take different lessons on how to maintain your home, what to look out for when you're buying, this, that. I can tell you that was really, really good. It really helped me to find a place, and it also helps me to know what to do to keep up, even how to cut down on bills, what to look out for to help you, when to wash, how to do this, how to do that. Back home, we didn't use dishwashers and washing machines and all of that. So it was all good information to know how to cut down on your costs, what to do with different things. I learned a lot in that session. Only thing is, now you have finished, you take the test, you get your certificate. They said, okay, so this is the amount we are going to help you with. And we will only help you with that amount if you find a house within this range. Okay, so if you're buying a house outside this range, then you're on your own. So find a house within this range, because by then they looked at how much you're earning. And of course, I was in college, so I wasn't earning anything. So imagine they're looking at how much you're earning, or a projection of how much you may be earning in about a year or two. And so the amount wasn't that good to start with. So with that amount, I realized that the only places that you could be looking for houses were those places where they were trying to revitalize the neighborhood. And so all the prices were kind of low. And that's not the neighborhood I wanted. So I was like, okay, I learned good stuff from here, but scratch it. I'm not going to be working within this budget. I'm going to expand it. So now let me go to the bank and find out how much I can get. So by then I had gone to one association. Now I'm doing another one because I was teaching in DC, and they also had a program that teachers could get something. So I went to that one too. And then good thing, they were also under first-time home buyers. So I've done that training already, so I don't have to do it again. And this time the money is good. Okay, I have just started teaching now at this point. So it had taken me 2 years already. Now I'm teaching, so I've been, it's like I've been cleared. You can have so and so amount. Okay, you can go for so and so loan. Now we're looking for a house. Somebody says, oh, I know this realtor from my church. She's a good agent, so they pair me up with her. And then she asks all these nice questions, and I fill all this surveys and whatever. We sat at Bus Boys and whatever, and we fill all this paperwork. Then I get a call, oh, to come see a place. What I realize is this lady doesn't look at the place before she takes me there. She looks at the price range and she sees that I'm within that price range, and she calls me and she has a whole list. We look at them and I cross some out. I say, no, this month, no. And then even the ones that we do go to, we go and we are surprised. Like the things I have said I don't want are exactly the things we are going looking at. That was a waste of time. So after the second year of that kind of waste, I said, no, lady, you're fired. I'm getting a new person. So then I called somebody at work who had bought a house. First, she wanted to give me her agent, and she was like, oh, she would even get some kickback for introducing someone. But because she said she would get a kickback, I thought, then maybe that realtor is not good. No, he was the best. He actually buys properties, renovates, and sells. And he also helps people buy houses. And I gave him what I wanted. The first weekend we went out, first he went and looked at all those places, which is what the other one should have been doing. It took me to like 6 or 7 houses, and they were all perfect. Now it was a matter of, okay, out of all the 6, you like all the 6. So out of the 6, which one are you picking? So it was a journey that started with going for classes. First time home buyers class.
Thank you so much, Abby. So this is Moment of Truth, and we are talking about, how to get a house, because after you budget yourself, now you are now on your way to an American dream, and owning a home is one of the American dreams. So we really want to just really give you the perspective of the struggles or the challenges that people have to go through to make sure that you really get the American dream. So how about you, Dr. Kumsi? What was it that made it easier, or what were some of the criteria financially when you start working with a realtor, or what classes do you have to take?
I'm sorry.
Oh, go ahead. Yes.
I'm sorry, Miss Alberta. Mine, I didn't talk about the financial part. The main thing was they wanted to see, apart from credit scores, they wanted, that was for the first-time home buyers, they wanted you to save at least 3 to 6 months of how much mortgage you'll be paying. So for example, if I'm expecting a mortgage, and they did all of that, depending on how much loan you're taking, then how much you'll be paying as mortgage. So if you're expecting to be paying like $2,000 a month, then they expect by the time everything is ready, for you to start going out to look for homes, you have saved at least $6,000. So 3 months or more, between 3 and 6 months, so that they know that when you move in, the first 3 months you are cushioned. So that was another criteria for the first-time home buyers. The second one didn't have that criteria, but by then I had saved more than that because it took me so many years. So all along I was just saving, waiting. So that helps to also have equity in the house, to have some money for down payment. If you're not working with first-time home buyers, you don't need down payment. You just need some money for 3 months. But for others, you need some down payment if you want equity.
Thank you, Davy. Dr. Prissy, how about you?
Well, I actually don't remember all the rules around it, but for me, what was more important for me was that I didn't want a mortgage that was overwhelming. So it was very important for me to have a house that was even less relating to the mortgage payments than what I was paying when I was living in an apartment. And so I told my realtor that I want something that's equal to what I'm currently paying or even less if possible. So when we got approved for the loan, the realtor was like, I mean, you can extend yourself a little bit. Like, you know, you got this much, you can get this much. I said, yeah, but I like convenience. I like freedom. I like to get the things that I like to get. And I don't want any mortgage pinning me down. And also what we did was we submitted the application based on just one of our income. We did not combine the income. So what we were approved for was based on just one person's income. And that was very important to us because if one of us at any time was not able to work due to whatever reason, we wanted to make sure that we didn't, you know, get into a crazy area where paying the mortgage was a problem. So it's like just one person's mortgage thing. And it's just really, it came out even much lower than what we were paying for at the apartment. And it was just really, really nice. And we were able to like put the difference. So like what we were paying for our apartment, we said, okay, this is something that we still can afford, right? So we took the difference and we always apply it to our principal. So, you know, you're making like the same payment, you don't have to, but it really helps because it really helps to bring down the principal and really saves you a lot on the interest. So that was really critical for me. And I'm telling you, the experience was quite something, because when you're buying a house and a few of your colleagues like know about it, especially at work or wherever, they try to put some pressure on you to get like a crazy thing because I mean you can afford it. Yeah, but that's not what this is about. So I was was like, we're not in competition with anybody. This is what, you know, will give me extra money to play around. And I like to have my play money and, you know, really be super overly comfortable. So that's what really played into deciding how much mortgage was. And we decided all of this before I even later got to find out about the golden rule, where you should try to get your mortgage about, I think, what is it, 28% or to 30% or something off your gross income. So when you look at like that, it's a much lower amount of your gross income. So like if you're making like $80,000 a year, just to give an example, your mortgage will probably come out to be about $1,900. And so you look at what all the family's income is, and they kind of make a decision. If you 50% of your gross income has to go to your mortgage, you have bought too much house. You cannot afford that house. And for us, when we did the calculation, our mortgage really came down to like literally like about 10%. So wow. It was like really good to make that decision. So it's just very super comfortable. And I mean, it's like no pressure. You really have to do what you want and not let any outside influence the decision to buy the house, because you may end up with something crazy that you work forever, really hard, 2-3 jobs just to make a payment and barely even enjoy the house. We didn't want that.
Thank you guys so much. I think you guys hit a couple of factors and a couple of things that you look out for. Your house should not be dragging you down. It should be a place of rest. So if your mortgage is dragging you down and you have to pay too many bills, and the mortgage is like high up there, then you know that your mortgage is stressing you out, and that is not what we want. That this is moment of truth. Most times I always tell myself, the bills are there. The bills are there, but you don't want to incur more bills. You want to make sure that you can pay the ones that you have. And the mortgage, one of the things we didn't even address is like how many years. They have the 30-year, the 15 years, the one that you are paying, like how Dr. Kumsi was talking about, if you have more money, you put some more pay on the interest. On the principal. So you are paying your monthly payment, but you're also paying some of the interest, the principal down. So by the time you realize, you are really ahead of the game. But the mortgage should not be, if you are paying 50%, some people mortgage is 70% of their gross income. That is ridiculous. That is ridiculous. When I bought my house, the army was paying for it, so I didn't have to worry about it. Now, when I got out and I have to pay for it, I was like, oops, that's a lot of money that I have to worry about. But it's even less than, paying for an apartment. I have to be honest with you. So I have no complaint at all. But it really takes, mortgage takes a lot out of your paycheck. And so you really want to make sure that you can afford that monthly payment that is, happening, that is occurring. Because the worst thing is to buy a house and then you can't afford it. Then you have to have a foreclosure, and that foreclosure will also be on your credit record for another 7 years. So please make sure the American dream is not a nightmare. It's a reality, but you also make sure that it is your reality. I think what really hurt people is that when you are trying to compete with other people. I remember somebody asked me, why you live in a townhouse? You can have a single family home. I'm like, I can afford a townhouse comfortably.
Thank you.
I don't need a single family home. A townhouse is just perfect. So make sure you can afford it. From a townhouse to a condominium, to a single family home, to a ranch home, whatever you can afford comfortably, that is where you want to make sure you can choose. So sit down. And I had a realtor straight from my realtor was the person I had straight from the beginning. She helped me with choosing. She was also aware of whatever the sellers were doing, the buyers were doing. So she helped me from the beginning to the end. The other person that I worked with was a finance person, because even though I was in the military, I had a VA loan. The VA loan was only going to give me a certain amount. And so it wasn't enough for the house that I wanted. The first time home buyer was the same thing, like David said, it wasn't enough for the house that I wanted. I didn't want to live in the projects or the ghettos. But I also didn't want too much of a huge bill. So you have to be honest with yourself. Yeah. Whenever you are buying a house, you want to be honest. You don't want a big house. At the same time, you don't want a rundown house or a project that requires you to fix it. I have no fixability capability. So I don't want something that I have to be, buying this, doing that. That is not me. So be honest with yourself. Don't say, oh, this project, I could take care of it. It's called the money pit, where you buy the house and you end up spending a lot of money to fix it. It's not worth it. So just think about it.
Sometimes it doesn't even come out right.
No.
You just keep throwing money into it. Throwing money into it.
Yep. Yeah. That is why it's called the money pit. So make sure that you have the right neighborhood. Make sure you can afford it. Make sure it meets your criteria, and then you go from there. So let's talk about challenges. Dr. Kumsi, what were some of the challenges after you're working with the realtor and everything? What are some of the challenges when it comes to the end of your buying process? What were some of the challenges?
It was it requires a lot of patience. I remember, it's quite frustrating finding a house that you really like and checks all the boxes, right? But the most frustrating thing was you find a house, you like it, and then the prices kept going up because it's so much competition, right? Mm-hmm. And it goes up, and then you realize that it's now past your price range. And I got into the position where sometimes I was like almost ready to put in an offer, like because I felt like, oh, if I don't get it right now, the price is going to keep going up. And my realtor, she was really good. She was like, don't feel like you have to buy this house just because you're scared the price is going to go up. And if you don't get it, it will keep rising and then it'll be crazy. Don't do that. The other houses will come on the market, and just be patient. Your house will come. And so, and most of the houses that came, that we saw were mostly advertised as a hot home. And I see the difference when a house is advertised as a hot home, it goes so quick. Like, so we finally, when we found our house, it was advertised in a hot home. I didn't even feel like going to see, because I felt like by the time we get there, it'll be gone. Like, you know, so but the realtor was like, no, it just got on the market. The person is still living in there. He's been living in this house for 40 years. He got this house when it was first built, and he's been living in this same place for 40 years. I want you to get this house. Like, I think, so when we came, and he said, wow, you guys are the first people to come see the house. Okay. So I went, see the look, and I'm like, I'm good. This is it. Like, you just enter the house and you just feel it. You just feel it, and
fall in love.
You fall in love with it. And the only thing I was concerned about the house was that on the stairs, it did not have the banister that you could, you know, like hold. And you know, we have young kids. Like, my little girl was about a year old by then. So I was like, I don't know. And the renter was like, oh, this is an easy fix. You know, we'll have him do that before there are things. And then, like, on the upstairs, one of their rooms, it was like a loft, right? So there was no door. Like, I mean, these people were living their life, okay? And we're like, we need to put in a door, like we need to put in railings, like all that stuff. And the lady was like, these are nothing. It is not a structural damage. It's just few things that you got to put in. And you know, if we can kind of use that to negotiate the price. And it turned out really, really good. But my challenge was just like, oh my goodness, when you find something that you like, that the competition became so keen that, oh, it just sucked all the excitement out, and it was very draining. But in the end, it took me about 4 months to find that house. And I think it was okay, because I know it takes some people much longer to find, you know, a house that they're very comfortable with and very happy with, right? So yeah, that was the only thing. But the house itself was really, really great. And the people were really, really sweet. And oh my goodness, there was a sale point, which didn't necessarily mean anything to me, but they used that as a selling point. The house has a sauna in it, because the people that were living here, the guy was American, but his wife was from Finland. And I understand saunas like are big in Finland, right?
It is.
So she put a sauna in here, and they were like, come see the sauna. Well, I'm like, yeah, okay, how you work this? So
for an African woman, we used to heat. We don't want it for luxury.
And mind you, I have asthma. I don't do well with extreme.
You don't do it.
Yeah. So I'm like, so unfortunately, we have been living here for 5 years and we have never been in that sauna. Very, very sad.
I'm coming for a visit.
Yeah, but it was quite an experience, but you know, a good one in the end.
Okay, thank you so much. How about you, David? What were some of the challenges and the struggles in finally moving to your dream home?
My first challenge, and probably the biggest, maybe, was the first agent I had. That was a challenge. She used up all of my patience, and finally I had to get somebody else. She could take me somewhere, and literally we look at the place and I'm like, why did you bring me here? She's like, oh, you know, it can be fixed. What? And I'm like, I didn't say I wanted a place that I was going to fix up. I said I wanted a place where I could just move in and live there. So why did you bring me here? So actually, I didn't know it looked this bad. I said, so did you look at it? She's like, no, okay, we'll check another one. So that was my first challenge, the biggest one. And then because she was introduced by somebody, it was difficult, like cutting ties. But I finally had to cut ties. I finally had to tell the person, your church member that you gave to me really is not working. It's not working. So please, I'm going to tell her next week we're not going to work together anymore. So that was a big challenge, how to just handle that so that it doesn't affect any relationship I had with the person who introduced her and all of that. That was the biggest challenge. I think the other thing that looked like a challenge but really wasn't was the fact that so they were living here when I finally agreed to buy it, and they needed 1 month to finally move. Imagine I had this excitement of having a new house. Now I have to decide, do I want to allow them that 1 month to move or not? Like 1 month is nothing. So I gave them the 1 month. And then after they moved, I finally moved in. So that was not a challenge. It was just a little bit, but when I came in, it was looking good. So
But
they paid me too for the 1 month they were
right,
here.
I was gonna, because they
Yeah.
pulled their
So I
rent
was
back.
a landlord for 1 month.
Right. We had that experience too. Yeah, it was nice to get a nice little check for the rent.
Yes, that was good. Yeah.
That is good. I'm glad to hear that.
How
For
was yours?
me, my challenge was that the person that, so I was I'm now the third person to live in the house. The first person that lived in the house lived in for like maybe, 15 years. And then the second person moved there. The second person only lived there for maybe like 6, 7 years. And then I moved here. When I moved, there were certain things that I wanted to change. The place was all carpeted. And I have allergy. So with everything carpeted, it has been carpeted for a long time, more than 10 years. And I was like, you could, when something has been carpeted for a while, you can tell, even though they have been vacuumed, you can tell that was too strong for me. So that was one thing I had to work on, was just taking away all the carpet, stripping the floor so that we'll have a wood floor. And so I had to work on that one.
Work.
And then the light fixture. I like ceiling fans and all those things. So I had to make sure, I'm not a central person. I'm more of a ceiling fan. So I have to make sure we change that. So those were the things that I personally wanted. And I had to work with the realtor and the seller. And one of the things that you talk about was even when it's a seller's market and not a buyer's market, meaning that when you go there and the seller said they want $200,000 and people were paying $230,000, $235,000, that was the time that I was trying to buy the house. And it was like, you praying that nobody overbids you. Right. At the same time, you want to make sure that you get your dream house. So just you have to be honest with yourself and make sure the things that you want change. You work with the buyer and the seller to make sure as a buyer, you get those things changed, because in the end, you still come down to you. And I think also, one of the things you always want to make sure that you also get inspection. You always want to make sure that the place get inspected for structural damages and everything else. And also get insurance. Get homeowners insurance, before you get everything together, make sure that the paperwork get all those stuff in place. So that way you are not surprised, because each county, you have to pay county tax on property tax. So if that one is not factored into your mortgage, you'll be shocked by the end of the year when they give you that property tax. So those were the challenges that you have to look out for, and make sure that you really look at the long-term overview of your bill as you move forward.
Pulling the carpet and replacing was part of the house, hardwood floors, or everywhere was carpeted? Did you have to pull everything? Because I imagine that would be a huge cost.
So everything was carpeted. The living room, everything was carpeted. So yes, I actually changed the bedrooms and everything. I changed the carpet in the bedrooms and everything. Yeah, it was a huge cost. I won't lie to you, it was a huge cost, but it was more for my health, and I have to think about my health. And I also have to think about my future, having kids and being in the same carpet area. I just it wasn't what I wanted. So you always have to think about long term, because a home is your investment. So I'm going to make it comfortable. And even like some of the stuff that I changed was the refrigerator, the microwave. My whole kitchen is remodeled. The cabinet, everything is gone, because the old cabinet was there, and I was like, they got to go. But it took time. It wasn't like when I'm moving right away, I started doing those things. Like I said, I've been in this house for over 15 years, and those are work. Having a home is wonderful. Maintaining your home is a lifetime. So if you want your house to last, you have to put in the money to make sure that your homes don't fall apart while you're still living there. And those are some of the challenges that you have to look at as you look at your investments. What are some of the things that you need to change to make sure that your house is current, is AC, like the AC, you have to change the heating, all those things, they become part, because they wear out. They wear out. So it's not like the apartment where you just call the apartment people. You're being the homeowner, meaning that you have to take care of all those things. So that's good.
I realized that it's not as easy to find a house that has all hardwood floors. It didn't come easy for us, because I had to have I couldn't have carpet any area. So nailing it down to a house that had hardwood floors everywhere, that took a minute. And this was really a good find, because we didn't have to deal with carpet any part, and it was all hardwood floors from top to down. And that was very important, like for my health.
Yes. Yep. It is important. Whatever you are looking for, if yours is a walk-in closet, full bath, half bath, 3 bedrooms, a master suite, a jacuzzi, a sauna, a garage, whatever is on your wish list, start working on those wish lists, because you want your home to be your dream home. But you also want to make sure that you cut your code according to your size, and your dream home doesn't become a big,
nightmare.
It won't become like a place where you are dying just to live in there, but you live in it and enjoying it. Our time is fast spent. We wanted to talk about cars, but we couldn't talk about buying a car today.
Oh my goodness.
So time is gone. So next week we're going to talk about cars, because we all end up buying new cars also. So, buying a home and buying a new car is it's a different process, but it's still part of, why do we budget? Why do we save? Because owning a home, I have to put on a down payment. Dr. Kumsi, do you have to put on a down payment for your house?
Yes.
Yeah. So you have to say,
good.
so you have to say, you can't just get up and say, today I'm going to buy a house. You have to have down payment. You have to have, people have to see that you're credit worthy. you have the means to pay that mortgage, before the ink is dry on the paper. So, but thank you guys. Thank you so much for watching us. Thank you for being part of our program. And if you have any question, definitely write it, any contribution, write it on it, and we'll read it, and we'll also reply back to you. So this is Moment Your Truth, and we are very happy to talk about the American dream. What is it about the American dream when it comes to owning a home, and what does that mean to each and every one of us? So Dr. Kumsi, do you have some last minute words?
Yeah, well, I say that, you had mentioned it when it comes to any major purchase that you make in life, especially a house, because a house is probably going to be the single most huge purchase that anybody will make in their entire life. It's really important to really consider your budget significantly. Sometimes people go into it knowing very well that this is going to be very difficult for them to afford. Even so, they will still go ahead and do it. It's very important to know that you are not in competition with anybody. You have to do what makes you happy. You have to cut your coat according to your size. It does not matter what people say. Let people say you have a small town home. It doesn't really matter. Like they're not living in it. You're living in it. And so if it makes you happy, that's all that matters. It doesn't matter what anybody else is saying. And because I see that just working with a group of nurses, I see that play a huge role into what people think about that kind of house you're getting and what people say. And it's very interesting to see how much pressure that puts on people. You don't have to, and that may actually affect somebody from, impact somebody from getting a house, right? Because they feel like they have to have this house and they're not ready. So now they don't want to go get a house because of that. But you know, it's all about doing the budget very well, knowing what you can afford, and pray on it, because it's quite an experience. And whatever you ask of God, you will receive.
Amen. Thank you so much, Dr. Kumse. Dr. Kumse said something. Pray on it. I pray over my neighborhood. I did the Jericho prayers around my neighborhood. I was claiming it and washing it in the blood and everything, as I want this neighborhood to be mine. You know, God is the only one who make that neighborhood mine. So right. It is important. Prayers. As women of, you know, as children of God, prayers is our watchword. So any major thing, anything that you do, you have to pray. But definitely with this, you want God to be in the center of it, in everything. So, amen. David Igbade.
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, friends, it's been nice coming to your homes and wherever you are this evening, talking about the journey to getting a home. And it's a good dream to have your own place, because the money you're spending on paying rent, you get nothing back when you move out. But with mortgage, you do get money back when you finally sell your house. Depending on how well you keep it, you may get some good money or some bad money. So as you're thinking about buying a home, I think it will be good for you, even if you're not going to use the first-time home buyers loans or anything, to just attend their class and learn a little bit about how to keep your home so that the equity is always high for you. Thank you so much. Send us your questions, your comments, your thoughts.
That will you thank our sponsors for us, please?
Oh, yes. Thanks so much. Thanks so much to Delatech. Thank you, El Shaddai International Market. Please make sure you patronize these people who are sponsoring us, okay? Ashon Collections, Comfort Realty, Big Jakes, Lean on Jesus Foundation, all our wonderful co-hosts, and of course, Elder Esifi and the technical team. A big kudos to them for bringing us on air. Thank you so much. Back to you, Auntie Alberta.
Thank you so much, everybody. We also want to say happy birthday to all the April birthdays. I know that Esifi's birthday was Monday. My sister-in-law birthday is today. My dad's also, so all these April people, I'm telling you, happy birthday, happy birthday, happy birthday, and happy health day today too. Yeah. We also just want to say thank you to our national head, Apostle Marco, our regional head, Apostle Semno, and of course our district pastor, Pastor Evis Boati, Pastor Nkansa, and the wife Johnny Nkansa, and the wife. We want to say thank you so much, everybody. And just remember that if you don't have a church at the Pentecost, is online. If you want to come in person, log into to the site. You'll be able to register, so that way you can come in person. The youth are meeting this Sunday. We have virtual, and also so we're doing a hybrid virtual and also on Zoom. So also make sure you register. Any activity that is going on, register. And remember, Mother's Day is coming. Start preparing ahead of time. So until next week, we just want to say thank you.